Hello everyone, in this video I'll be teaching you how to set up a chessboard. So we have many different pieces on the chessboard. We have all the pawns, which are these front pieces for white and for black. Also we have other pieces such as minor pieces like bishops and knights, so both black and white have them. And we have the next most important piece, which is the rooks, and we have the two monarchs that are located in the centre of the board. So let's head on to this in more detail, starting off with the pawns. Pawns are laid out on the second rank and the seventh rank. So for white, they lay on the second rank, so going over this way. But for black, the pawns are going on the seventh rank, so going this way. So from white A2 to H2, so we have A2, B2, C2, D2, E2, F2, G2, and H2. So these are white's pawns. And what about black's pawns? Black's pawns are from A7 to H7. So A7, B7, C7, D7, E7, F7, and we have G7, and also the H7 square. These are all black's pawns. Pawns can move two places on their first go, but then after this they can move one place only. They can also move one place on their first go. It's an option how much places to move, for one place or two places. But only on the first move they're allowed to move two spaces. So this pawn could move from A2 to A4, and this pawn could move from A7 to A5. But the thing is, from here, this pawn could not march any further forward because there's a pawn in its way, and that's how it works. But if we go back, if this pawn moves two places, then there's something called a capture. Pawns capture diagonally like this. So A captures on B4, and that is called a capture. They always have to capture diagonally. And also there is a special move called en passant, which we will cover in another lesson. Now we're moving on to the rooks. We have covered the pawns, and the rooks can slice along the board. So this rook cannot move to H1 because of this rook cannot move onto the H1 square because its other pair is on the square. So they're located on A1 and H1 for black. So for white, sorry. But for black they're on A8 and H8. So currently this rook could move all the way up to G1, and this rook could move all the way up to B8. They can move anywhere unless there's nothing in its way. Same thing with any other pieces. You cannot move on another square unless it's a capture, and you can't capture your own pieces. So these rooks wouldn't be able to move anymore because they're completely this one would be able to move, but this one wouldn't because it's stuck, and so is this one. So we would have to let this one out for this one to move, and now this rook is free to go. So this one moves, and now this one can move. This rook can shift, and this rook can shift, and that's how rooks move up and down the board, so vertically and horizontally. Let's move on to the next pieces. And we have the knights, also like the horses. So they're located on B1 and G1 for white. And for black, they're on B8 and G8. So we have white knights and black knights. Knights are worth 3 points, and the rooks are worth 5 points. So the knights aren't as important. But the knights have a special feature unlike any other piece. They are really unique to move. So currently you can see that this knight is trapped in, and the knight can't capture any other pieces. It can't capture its own piece, as I said earlier. But the special move of the knight is it moves in an L shape. So if on the light square, so on the white squares, its next move has to land on the dark square. So you can see this knight here on B8 is on the dark square, but now it can move to a light square by shifting over to C6 like this. And the same thing with this knight. This knight can jump from G1 all the way to H3, so from a dark square to a light square, and this knight on G8 can move all the way to F6. So it moves in an L shape, so two spaces in any direction apart from diagonally, then one place vertically or horizontally. So it has to be in a different direction, so this way or this way. So if this move knight from g8 to f6, it would look like the light square to the dark square. And this is the knights. Let's move on to the bishops. The bishops are currently trapped, but they slice along the board with a horizontal movement, like this. But they can only move unless you make room for them, like this. So this bishop is now able to move out the way, and this bishop is now able to move out the way. So this bishop can slice along the board, and this bishop can slice along the board. But now, the problem is, we can't unleash this bishop along this diagonal. The best we could do is move it to this square and ask for a trade, and bishops capture diagonally. And you would trade off like this. So a bishop is worth 3 points as well as the knight. That's why they're known as minor pieces. Now we fill in the whole load of pieces. So the pawns and all the pieces. And this time we have finished, because not only do we have all our pieces, we have added in the monarchs, the queen and the king. So the queens are on the light squares. So white queen on white square, black queen on black square. White king on dark square, black king on light square. So the king is it's worth more than any other piece in the game. If you capture the king with checkmate, you can't capture, but if you win with checkmate, then it's all over. And the queens are worth 9 points, so more important than any, worth more than most of the pieces, and it's the most powerful. So please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.